And we've seen people who've actually, like Ebola survivors in other outbreaks, who've had to deal with that stigma, even having survived, which many of them actually, like the burden of the stigma affects them for their entire life. And some people maybe even wish that they may not have survived, because we know that the case fatality rate is very high. So we really have to have a balanced sense of maybe reporting or commenting, so that we are not looking for the story, but thinking of the person behind the story, rather than sensationalizing that individual person, because then people always, because Ebola is not always thought about in positive terms. I think any new disease is not always thought about in positive terms. So we really need to be balanced and cautious, so that we are not perpetuating stigma while we are trying to report even potential cases or outbreaks. And we also see this because when people perceive a stigma, particularly for a new infection, then you'll hear people running away or attempting to run away from treatment units. So we need to really have a balanced judgment where we care about the person and not put the story before the person, and really try to protect these people, because it's not their own fault that they chose to be infected. So we really have to be cautious and think about the impact of what we will try to do, even as we anticipate this outbreak. Thank you.
Just to add to that, I'd really like to commend the Ministry of Health for their quick action. The day after the case was detected in Uganda, the Ministry of Health began to bring subject matter experts together here in Kenya. And it's important that not only every Kenyan receives this information, but every person working in a health facility. Because again, learning lessons from previous outbreaks and what's going on in Uganda, cases don't come to the largest referral hospital. Because of those early dry symptoms of fever and cough, people often think that they have flu, and so they just go to the lowest level community facility. And so the provisions that are in place to provide PPE and training to all healthcare workers is really critical, I think, as we strengthen our preparedness in Kenya. Thanks.
To add on to that is, of course, the economic devastation that potentially this virus can bring. We remember that 2014, 2016 West African outbreak, the three main countries of Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, the total economic loss is estimated at more than $4.3 billion. So the correct messaging and measures we put in place to bring a potential outbreak to a close, the earlier our economy is protected. Remember, we are just beginning to recover from the effects of COVID-19. So to emphasize what Dr. Maritim was saying is that correct messaging, even as we communicate, so that we don't drive the infection underground because of stigma, but we inspire our people to be able to come up to the health facilities so that they can be able to receive care.
Thank you, DG and the panelists. So there are three requests, final ones. One is that we have a colleague from the media house.
Live from the Western Hotel, that is a stakeholder engagement meeting there, led by Dr. Patrick Amoth, who is the Director General of Health in the country there, in terms of the Ebola surveillance. What they've been able to talk about is that they're keeping a keen eye and a hawk eye in terms of the responses, bearing in mind that our brothers in Uganda are actually trying to mitigate that